Bonjour again, listening people.
Bonjour again.
Buongiorno. Hello, Bartek. How are you doing?
Oh, finally an Italian film. I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
I am doing great. Perhaps one day we will do an Italian film that isn't one of the Trinity movies. Perhaps, because is that the only Italian movie we've ever done?
Off the top of my head, it's the only one I can think of. But, until half an hour later when I go, oh, fuck, we forgot about this.
Yeah, Mr. Scarface.
You know what, Ryan? I think you may have nailed it.
You would have gone home and said, Mr. Scarface, like a boil on my ass. On my asshole, I think it was.
Yes, asshole, yeah.
Now, let's get serious, everyone. I'm Ryan, that's Bartek. We are the hosts of Spit and Polish Presents. And we are here today to talk about a movie that has come recommended because that is what Pictures Powwow is all about. We have a few different shows. You can go back in time and listen to our unappreciated masterpieces in which we do a commentary track for movies that deserve them but don't get them, or a mystery box where we open up a random... Not always movies. Sometimes they're different things.
They're all DVDs, so
but they're new to us, and we say, "What is this? Is this a cult video? What is this? Is this a documentary about people going overseas and criticizing them? What could it be?" And of course, we've talked about TV shows, but today it is our one where we talk about movies and movies that have come recommended by either one of us hosts or you, the listening people. And this week, it was my time to recommend a movie, and that is what we are here to do today. We're here to talk about 2018's film Climax, a Gaspar Noé movie, a big filmmaker, one that we haven't covered before, and one I'm not too sure the history either of us have with, but he is one of note. And people, if you have not had the chance to give Climax a viewing for yourself, recommend that you do this. It's a simple premise, but it's the way it's executed. That's the most important thing about it, because you read the summary on IMDb, you can hear the summary that Bartek could give you just in a moment's time, and it sounds like, oh, okay, so that sounds like an interesting little movie. But it's the way that the camera moves. It's the way that these actors are flinging themselves across the room. It's all of those crazy things. The music that's never ending. That's the thing.
With how slow-paced this film was, it would be very, hypothetically, very confusing to walk in not having read anything about it, not even knowing the premise, and waiting for something to start.
Yes. Bartek, what is the general pitch that you would give to someone about the movie?
So this is a film that's basically set on this one night. There's a book ending thing of where it starts the morning after. But it is a night where all of the students of this one dance academy class have gotten together. I think they've just finished a big project of theirs, and they're just having a little party, a little celebration. And the first chunk of this film is just kind of getting to know the characters in various ways, their testimonials to the camera that they want to present themselves as, and then private conversations that they have with each other.
Interpersonal dynamics, belief systems, yeah.
Yep, and the film goes on with that for a little bit. You get their dancing, and, to go into the meta a little bit, these aren't big actors. These are first time ever acting people. They're dance people.
There's only one professional actor in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's Sofia Boutella, who plays, I guess you would say, the lead character.
Yeah,
That's what.
So you get a lot of their dancing. But then eventually there comes a point where at this party, there's a punch there, or a sangria, they call it.
That one of them has made, yeah.
Yep, and they quickly discover, after many of them have already drunk from it, that it got spiked with LSD. And so the majority of the film after that point is basically just one shot, one very, very long shot. I think it's 42, 43 minutes of just going through how everything's devolving and going to shit as people are losing their minds. They're becoming the worst versions of themselves. This was a film where I forgot a lot of the things that you told me at the end of last episode, but as it was going on, I was just remembering little things oh yes, Ryan described this film as a non-stop panic attack.
Yeah. So everyone, please give this a viewing for yourself. It won't be for everyone, of course, but
Mhm.
you know what? I say this. Grab grandma, sit down and watch this on a Sunday afternoon. I'm sure it'll be an interesting time for you all. Now, when it comes to this movie, I was made aware of it when it initially released. All of the film critics were talking about it because Gaspar Noé is a big director. He's a provocateur director. He revels in it. And unlike, say, some other film contemporary directors where you can debate, is Lars von Trier a troll? Is Lars von Trier a provocateur? Or is he a genuine artist? And, some of these other ones, like we talked about this when we did Another Round, where the director of that, he started off in that realm of movie making, of just like, blurring the lines. There is no ambiguity with Gaspar Noé. He revels in this, and he was actually quite perturbed when this movie became a critical darling because he doesn't believe art should be made in that way. He thinks it should be divisive.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks it should split you. He thinks it should have you not see eye to eye. Like, he is one where he has said very vocally, like, he does not make art for audiences, he makes it for himself. And then whatever comes from that. And so he is a man where he has a lot of, boundary pushing things and his quirks and ticks. And one of them is like spinning cameras, neon lights, music, abrasive characters. Incest is another one that is often in his movies, and very non-traditional storytelling. His big film is Irreversible, is one of his big ones, and that it's great. It's not an easy watch, but Irreversible, part of that movie is like the storytelling structure is backwards, so that's kind of fun, and the swooping camera. So with Climax, when it came out, everyone was talking about it because it was like, oh, this is the, believe it or not, Bartek, this is the really accessible Gaspar Noé movie. Wow, he's made one that, like, everyone likes this one.
So he thinks he fucked up then.
So he thinks he fucked up. He's like, damn it. And I was curious because Gaspar Noé is one where I've watched Irreversible, I've seen some of his other works, and I've always liked his stuff well enough, but he's never, bowled me over. I think I'm just kind of like that with some of these directors. Same with Lars von Trier. I've enjoyed Lars von Trier works, but I don't think I would ever say like, oh, I love Lars von Trier. It's just like, oh yeah, I appreciate what they do. So I was keen to see this when it came out, but for some reason, I just never got around to it. So when we were doing this podcast for this year, we're going back to movies that have come out during the last decade and a bit since we've been doing this podcast, whether they're ones we've seen or haven't. And I just went, oh, I've got to have Climax. I've got to have one that, when I was doing my list, I was like, okay, traditional movie, genre piece, whatever. I was like, man, I feel like I got to have like a mood film. And I knew Gaspar Noé, he's not about narratives. He's not about like the 3-act structure and character arcs in the normal way. He's much more about like the emotional state. Like, how does this make you feel when you're watching it and getting you just in a certain psyche? And I was like, I gotta have one of these in there. Climax, that's the one that I've been meaning to check out. And I think there's a bit of a humor in there as well, because like the lead actress, Sophia Botella, she has had Hollywood successes. She was in the Kingsman movies. She was the one with have you ever seen the Kingsman?
I've seen the first one.
Yeah, she's the one with like the razor legs that like kicks people. Like, she's like the henchwoman in that movie, like that beats up everyone. So she's in that. Then she was the mummy in Tom Cruise's The Mummy.
Okay.
And I'm like, she also did this right before, around the same time as that. Like, she did this and the Mummy at the same time, relatively speaking. And I'm just like, what a funny career to have. But yeah, I hadn't seen this. I knew the general premise was a party goes wrong, somebody drugged it, and everyone loses their minds. I didn't know about the one take shot, or simulated one take. I think there's like 1 or 2 cuts in there, but for the most part, it's one big take. I didn't know about that. I didn't know the actors' backgrounds. I didn't know the music stuff. I didn't know there were dancers. Like, I really didn't know much. I just knew it was a party. There, somebody spiked the punch and everyone loses their minds. And I was like, oh, I know Gaspar Noé well enough. I think I know what I'll get. And boy, did I get it. But Bartek, I get a feeling that you had a bit of an experience with this movie. So tell us a bit about your background with this and your watching of it.
This was almost as blind as you can get going into a film. Yeah, I didn't know the director. Even when I looked him up, I didn't know the name. I didn't know what this film was about. It was only like while watching it that I remembered like the few things you said last episode. And even, I had to track down a copy of this. I'd forgotten that like the place where I got it listed it as a horror film. And the film is so slow paced early on that like nothing horror-y was happening. So when I remembered that, I'm like, oh, okay, is this gonna like devolve into like a cult thing?
Mm,
But no, it gets to like, psychological horror territory, basically.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So you had no familiarity with the director, with the premise, what type of movie you're getting into. You remembered all I have said about this movie is like it's a panic attack. The movie, like that's
Mm.
basically. I didn't give a premise, didn't give anything
Yeah,
really. It was
and
just
it,
like
and it
that's
was
it.
very late. I think like the woman on fire was like when I remembered that or something like that.
That just happens casually too.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff has already happened at that point.
Mm.
But I enjoyed this movie. I really did have a good time. Question mark. Good time feels like a thing that's hard to say when a movie is this much about throwing you off and
Mm.
about antagonizing you and getting crazy and out there. But something about it had just like an artistic purity to it. I think the fact that these are actual dances lends some credence to that. I think that the flowing camera, the camera that kind of just hovers about and just kind of glides around, but just even the filmmaking structure was very fun. Like we open on the end credits, which is fun. And then, you get the little tag, and then halfway through the movie, you get like the opening credits, or like you get credits of
Mm.
like, here's the director, here's the cast, and you just keep getting like different levels of like, oh, and then the movie ends with the title card, and I'm like, oh, okay, this
that
is
that
this
mid
is very cute.
that
See?
middle part when that happened, because like the film very slow paced up to that point, and like I didn't yet know what the true premise was. I was like, what are these words that it's being shown at me right now? I don't understand this. And I was just having like false, premonitions to us doing this podcast. And it'd been like, oh, when the end credits popped up, I didn't know there were end credits. I was like, what are these words?
Yeah.
But no, that was halfway through the film thereabouts. And it was just credits. Just
Opening credits.
opening-ish credits in the middle.
Yeah, Gaspar Noé is credited like 14 times while the music is slowly saying Gaspar Noé, Gaspar Noé, Gaspar Noé.
I didn't recognize like any of the words until like there was one that was like the Rolling Stones. I'm
Yeah,
like,
'cause
oh,
they
are these bands?
Daft
Or,
Punk.
like, yeah. Oh, Daft Punk was there.
Yep. Their logo is there. Like, yeah, they credit the music that you're about to hear throughout the movie,
Hmm.
and the Rolling Stones being the last one because they're Angie is the last song. So that's kind of a little foreshadowing of music. You're like, oh, I wonder when the Rolling Stones are going to play because every other band was like techno. Every music in this is like relative. Even they even play Tainted Love in this movie.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, that was in the background of like the kids screaming while locked in the like electrical closet. You just hear, Tainted Love playing in the background, and
the film. Yeah, the film opened on like a different version of like Gymnopedy #1.
Yeah.
Like classical music.
Yeah, they get you in a mood. But
Music
yeah,
I use for my animation.
this was very fun for me in that way, where it's like, oh, they're being playful with like how they're telling the story. The camera is, flowing. But something that was very interesting, I'm getting from you is like the first half is slow.
Hmm.
We have this incredibly long sequence where we're looking at a TV and we're getting the testimonials of each one of these students. And the TV is like a classic, square TV. This is set in the 90s.
Yeah,
And
it's like an
around
older
the
CRT.
and around the TV are all these videotapes, and all the videotapes of movies that will clearly be referenced in this movie. Like they're all like fucked up movies. It's not like you see E.T. in there, it's stuff like Possession and things like that. So it's already like tipping the hand of like, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a weird one, huh?
Yeah. Well, the first big surprise was that testimonial thing went on for so long, and it's like them kind of thinking about their answers, being like, well, what is dance to me? I guess it's this. And because I didn't know, I didn't have context for this film, I thought it was like, oh, this is just going to be like, theater kids, like, they're starting out and maybe they're a bit more unsure of themselves. But then the second thing you get is this incredibly long, like, dance physical equivalent of a medley kind of thing,
Yeah.
where it's like probably the greatest dancing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, these guys are like for real dancers.
One of them's sent to New York. As we heard in the testimonials. And the brother's like, when did you go to New York? Who did you meet? I sure hope that this controlling dynamic that we're displaying won't come back to bite us in the ass later on. I sure hope not.
The dancing is amazing in this film.
It's interesting because you knew it was a horror in a sense, going in.
I'd forgotten by that point.
I knew things went crazy, but even I, going in, I didn't think of the horror aspect until we get into that, that area where we're staying for the rest of the movie, where in the first half, we have jump cuts. We have cut to black, cut back to scene, same scene.
Yes.
Again and again and again. And although you raise a point, like there's a slow pace, everything's quick. Like even in those, because we're just cutting from character to character, even cutting from different parts of the same conversation.
Yeah, in the middle of their conversation.
Just cut, and now we're like clearly like 10 seconds forward in their conversation, because it's like, who cares? They just, we just cut forward. And it's like, oh, that is such a, this has, even though it is still its own unique thing, it does have like horror movie trappings where it's like, here are young people in the isolated location and they all have like a thing going on, and like, they have all of their quirks. This one likes this character and this one's pregnant, and like we're setting up all the things. So that way
there's history between a lot of these characters.
So that way when we do the flip, everything, is set up, and it feels like very much like a cabin in the woods type movie in that way, where it's like, the young people, but instead of, Ash reads from the Necronomicon in this version, oh no, someone spiked the punch and now we lose our minds. Yeah, it was interesting because the dancing is incredible. Like, I was blown away from it as well. And the camera itself shoots it from like a bird's eye view so often as well. Like, we are right above them. And at first you're like, oh man, I want to see the dancing. But then after a certain point, you're like, no, this is the best way you could have shot this. This is incredible.
That first big dance, like obviously that's like, audience perspective, like front facing. But then most of the other dancing is bird's eye view, and it complements really well that there's a lot of like up and down movement in their dancing. Like some of them are clearly like jumping up and down, some of them are like falling on the ground, and like the perspective makes it look like, they're clinging to the wall, or like they're growing and shrinking. Like the bird's eye view was like super, super deliberate.
Yeah, everything. For a movie that has a long one-take shot, a movie that has a camera that's like on a handheld or whatever it is floating about, it is undeniable how much craft has been put into this. Like, there's one moment where a person hits the camera, and it's like, at that point, I'm like, let it be. They've done so well in this movie. It doesn't matter that that guy hit it with his head while dancing, because what else do you do? This is not the same type of thing, but it's that type of filmmaking in which it's like, oh, Rope, for instance, the Hitchcock movie is a one-take movie for what they could do back then, and you have to think about how you block this, how you move the camera, how you angle the camera. And if you're not a fan of this movie, I could see you, a person derisively saying, oh, and they just had the camera and they were just kind of going around places. But no, it's not sloppy like that at all. You're always on the understanding of what they're showing you has a thought process to it. Like, I was going to say, there's not really a time in this movie where you're visually like, what am I looking at? But when there are moments like that, it's on purpose. Like, there's this great shot where one character's like knocked out on the ground. I know that narrows it down. And everything's red and black, and he like crawls, and like and the camera keeps panning, and whatever he's grabbing at is now way behind, and everything's kind of like this grainy black. You're like, what is he grabbing onto? And then you see his hand come into the black void and kind of helps lift him up, and the camera like tilts around. You're like, oh, he's grabbing the wall, and you're going up, and like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Or even moments where the camera's on a side tilt and the main person in focus, it's almost like we're looking at this through like a camera phone, where it's like, the skinny frame in the middle, but like no, the camera's just on the side.
Yeah, yeah.
itself. It's very, very intense.
In the one shot, it transitions a lot from like standard shots to like Dutch angle and then just upside down.
Yeah.
Sometimes like spins in a circle slowly.
Yeah. So, what did you make of this film overall?
No, my thoughts were much less ambiguous. I was mesmerized by this film. It didn't stress me out because I was just so fascinated by it. Like even in the early parts where it was much slower paced and it didn't yet show its hand, and I was like struggling to keep track of like who all the characters were and what their motivations were, just something was keeping me with this film and I just wanted to see where it went. And really, it kind of kept up almost the whole way through. Like the actual climax of Climax kind of lost me a little bit, but like I can forgive that, like, 5 to 10 minute sequence because the rest of the film was just really, really, really great.
I'm glad to hear that. I was curious of what you would think. I was wondering, is this the one? Last week I was saying I don't choose movies to like, and then I was watching this. I'm like, oh man, I wonder what Bartek will think of this. I was thinking about our Nicholas Winding Refn discussions, and I'm like, oh no, what will he think about this?
Real coin flip. Like I could see an alternate version of me not gelling with this, but no, this one really worked for me.
I'm glad. No, it really is mesmerizing. That's the way to describe it because the characters are all very, flat relatively. They're not the deepest. They're not, but you understand most of them to a point. They all have their thing. Like there's the one who's a mother and there's her kid there. So there's the one who's pregnant. There's the two like jock dudes who are like, I want to fuck this girl. I want to fuck this girl. Then we have the Sophia Boutell's character who's like the most like normal-ish one out of the group of people. And then you have these ones and on it goes. Like there's just a whole plethora of people. There's Daddy, the DJ.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the most adult one, I would say.
Yeah, he's like kind of the leader of the group.
And he's a kooky character. Then you have like the really young twink guy that he's clearly into, and that guy disappears for good portions of the movie, and then when he comes back, you're like, oh right, you're here. There's Omar. I remember that guy because he gets thrown outside early in the movie, and I'm like, oh no, not Omar.
Yeah, he was kind of normal.
He was, it worked out well for him.
Presumably.
It did not. It did not work out well for Omar. I'm sorry to tell you, he froze to death outside. Did you see that?
I probably did, but it's just in my mind.
Literally, you get the panning shot of the snow because we tie back into the opening.
Yeah.
And one of the things you see is his body curled up and he froze to death outside because they wouldn't let him back in. That's interesting too. So behind the scenes wise, they kind of, allegedly this is a five-page script. There was no script. There was 5 pages of just general gist of it. Improvisation is happening and just visuals. Like we're gonna have this set piece, we're gonna have this set piece, this, and then so much of it was just serendipity. Like for instance, no plan for snow. It was just snowing in the real world where they were filming this, and so they did the little tag at the beginning and end because they're like, oh, it's snowing, we should do something with that. And then Omar's death, there's something was like, oh, it's snowing, we should do something with the limitations that are put upon us by the real world. So this does, like I said, has that artistic, scrappy charm to it in which, yes, there's craft on display, but there's also something about it where you can feel like that theater kid, we're putting something together, we've got all of these people and they're just going to go out there and do the thing. Like, I think only like one dance was properly choreographed and the rest of it was just they were... like each dancer was just bestowed like you dance how you think the character would be in this given moment, and it's like okay.
I remember during like the bird's eye view dance, like I guess the second dance montage of the film. I forgot the word montage before, like physical medley.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Make it less French.
Yes. But during the bird's eye view, there was one dancer who was like reacting to the crowd, like pushing him. I'm like,
yeah. Was
that choreographed? Like. I get the sense that like a lot of these dancers are like pulling from their own experience, but like how was that all improvised? Is he used to like dancing while being pushed unexpectedly by people?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that was just happening
just
for
talent.
realsies. Yeah, they're all very talented dancers and everything, but yeah, there's this just genuine sense of we're going to put something together here, and in a film context, we're often told the filmmaking process, like, that's a no-no. You have to have it all planned out. You have to have everything lined up and everything. And Gaspar Noé often doesn't want to work like that. He often is like, we have a script, but let's let them improvise. Let's not get actors. Let's get dancers. Let's have the camera just kind of capture what we do. And he describes, I think, the first half as a roller coaster, and then the second half as a ghost train. That's how he describes the
Mm.
movie. Is a roller coaster going up, 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 and then it becomes a ghost train, which is just such an interesting viewpoint to have on the movie, because the second half is where things get pretty wild, like you would expect, like a roller coaster going up and down and all around. But I do get the ghost train kind of analogy there. I'm like, oh, I get what you're going, like what you're going with, like especially like the visuals, like the neon lights, and you kind of just snaking your way down a long corridor that feels like it never ever ends, and then suddenly we make a left turn and like,
Yeah,
oh,
you get used to that corridor, but it always feels like a long time going through it.
look, I was brave. The last several times I've recommended one word films that are French
Hmm.
with sexual assault in them, but I broke the pattern somewhat. There is still sexual assault in this movie, but it's not the central point of the movie. But I have moved on to one word French films with a corridor in them that we get used to when we move around it a lot. Because in Revenge, there was a corridor in that we got used to as we ran through it a lot.
Yeah, the climactic corridor.
The climax!
Didn't think of that, yeah.
So, what are some other things you want to discuss with this movie, since it did mesmerize?
Yeah, where to go from there? It's just it is very stream of consciousness kind of thing. Like it's you mentioned before, like that one character's like, oh, that's basically the main character, and there are chunks of this film where it really does feel that way because it follows her. But then just the camera will like linger on someone else, and it's like we're gonna follow them now for like 7 minutes, and just they're gonna go through the corridor now and have a dynamic with someone on the other end, and then maybe they'll come back, and then we'll switch to someone else. And I mentioned before that I wasn't really stressed out by the film. I guess the one time where I kind of was that it was following the character who we see in the opening shots, who is pregnant and hasn't had the punch, and people are accusing her of like, oh, you were the one that spiked it, and they're very aggressive.
Yes,
and
they are. They hate her.
Yeah, and they're like screaming at her to kill herself, and she's like slashing at herself with a knife while
Punching
still
her belly.
protesting, punching her belly. And then when the camera leaves her, it's like, oh shit, I hope she's gonna be okay. And like,
you just hear her screaming.
Yeah. And like 10 minutes later, when you finally come back to that room, I was like waiting to see the shot where we last saw, like the spot where we last saw her, and it's like,
She's
oh
not
god,
there.
is she gonna be like dead there? And like no one's paying attention, but she's not there, and it's like, what happened to her?
And we do find her later in the movie. She's in the shower trying to wash blood off, I think. I think that's her. We do see her again, obviously. She does pop up. But yeah, there's moments where it's like, we're going to leave this character on the most horrifying note possible. We're going to go away. And you're thinking, well, when we come back to where they were, they'll still be there, right? Or something will have progressed. And oftentimes, no, they've just gone somewhere else. What for? Probably something horrifying. Let's go over and find out, shall we? And it's that thing of, you want to find out. You like, when we leave, you go, no, I want to follow that story to its end. And then when we leave, and then it's like, okay, you want to come back to that. You're like, no, I know it's going to be worse now because you made us go away from it.
And eventually
it's going to be worse.
Eventually we go back to the character that we're saying is like the main character, and like until the epilogue of the film, the last we see of her, she goes into a room and locks it.
Yeah.
And then you don't see her again until, the epilogue.
That was amazing. She's like, I've had enough. Lock the door. I'm done. I like in any movie early on when a character says, we should call the police or an ambulance, and then they don't. And the mayhem that ensues, because it's like, there's no reason for them not to. But then they just don't, because everyone is high and not making good judgment calls. And anyone who isn't high is ostracized. They're literally thrown out or forced to slash themselves. And it's just like, oh, that's fucking vile.
Or get mobbed.
Yeah, just get attacked.
Yeah, like one of the characters that does make quite an impression in the early part of the film is, I think that main girl's boyfriend, the one who like has fucked everyone.
Yes, yes.
Like he's dressed kind of like, he looks like he would like get into a fight or something with
Yeah, he
someone.
looks like a skinhead almost.
Skinhead, and like he gets uncomfortably close to a lot of people and like, oh yeah, he fucks everyone.
Mhm.
But he's good at it. He fucked someone next to me once and they seemed to enjoy it.
That was funny detail.
And like they talk about him like he's this kind of alpha, but then in the whole, psychedelic part of the film, like he is just constantly getting shoved aside or like beaten up, and he's like completely powerless.
Yeah, he gets a swastika drawn on his forehead with
Yeah,
lipstick. That stays for the rest of the movie. He had that done by black people as well, like very charged. Like there is some interesting commentary when it comes to the diversity of the cast here. This is also set in the 90s, which, you could say is a superficial thing, but it does kind of rear its head up from time to time. With little things. We've mentioned this too, but this film is French, so it's in the French language for the majority of the time. Something else is it's loosely based on a true story. They say that at the very beginning as well.
Yeah.
It's like the germ of that idea, the classic, like, oh, these young people got spiked and some of them died, and then it's like, oh, I'll take that idea and make it crazy.
I think what I read was like, oh, it was a party where this happened, but thankfully nothing bad happened.
Right.
But then the director's like, I'm going to make a film where something similar happens, but bad things do.
Where they descend into hell?
Yeah.
It's so interesting to describe it this way, but there's certain shots in this movie, certain pieces of atmosphere, and even the music, which is like classic, like party music, like electro funk, jams. But there's something about the atmosphere, the way shots are composed, where it's almost like those classic paintings of hell, like Dante's Inferno, like here's the like that type of like
just
now
a million things in the
million crazy horrifying things are going on that you just don't have a visual way of processing it all, but you see glimpses of like, oh, that person's on top of another one. Are they fucking them or fighting them?
Yeah, they're like forced into like 69 positions, being like stabbed by pitchforks.
This guy's doing push-ups. Oh, but wait, no, he's doing push-ups with like his legs wrapped around his elbows, so what's going on? And he's just grunting rhythmically, like, okay. And then, I'm seeing a glimpse over there. That one girl who, like, kicked off everything, she's still dancing in the center. No one's touching her. No one's affecting her. The one who, like, pissed herself, she's still dancing. And then that comes back later. They're like, oh, she's still dancing. And that was a thing, too, of... In the movie, everyone's paranoid. They're like, who did this? Who spiked the punch?
There is a loose driving mystery.
There's a loose driving force.
Yeah.
Who did this? Why did they do this? How can we get them? How can we get our revenge against them? And they're classic, like, paranoia. They're like, anyone who isn't displaying the symptoms that we are must be the person who did it. So we have to go get them. And again, people watch the movie. You're revealed, no, it's like the first person who displays any signs of it is the one who did it because they're into LSD. And it's like fairly obvious. Like, I actually I wasn't surprised who it was. I was more surprised we got an answer. I was genuinely surprised that we actually got an answer of who spiked the punch more than who it was that spiked it. Like, if we walked out of this movie and they did not answer who spiked the punch, I wouldn't be surprised, nor would I be disappointed. Like, this is the type of film where they could get away with that, where we just go, that happened. And look, everything went off the rails. But I did appreciate that, like, it did reward me, because if I was there, I would have immediately thought it was her, because, like, you're the first person displaying weird symptoms. I think you probably did it.
And the way the film does it, they just heavily imply, like, it's probably this person who's currently doing something with LSD.
Yeah. At the end, she has a book. She has all these books about LSD, and then she's dripping it into her eyes. Yeah. So she most likely did it.
Yeah. She doesn't say, like, I did it.
No.
Just to herself.
She doesn't look directly into the camera.
It was me. Now watch the film again and it'll make more sense.
It's irreversible. Yeah.
I'd forgotten if it was like, if we'd seen who did it or not. No. So when it was revealed at the end, I'm like, oh, okay, so it was like a, driving mystery, I guess.
It was the character Psyche.
Yeah, not driving, because that implies that, that's what's keeping you hooked.
It's the inciting incident, I guess you would say.
But yeah, the big drama comes from, like, any time someone is indicated to be potentially the person that did it, like, everyone within earshot will just gang up on them.
I really did like with the first half, we had just a series of different duologues,
Hmm.
just cut to these people, cut to these people. And, we mentioned like the theater energy that felt very theater. Like when we did our drama unit, I could imagine that being done on stage where you have the actors and then they the spotlight turns on and they're like, and we have the music in the background, like indicating like this is the club or this is the party and here's all these different characters we're going to get to know in this drama about how drugs are bad, that type of thing. And it felt very reminiscent of things we've seen when we were studying drama. I'm like, oh, I can imagine how you would stage this, like. And just with the filmmaking process, just the artifice put on top of it was very illuminating because there's no reason why they couldn't just present this like more traditionally in the first half. But even in that first half where things are more normal and more slow paced, everything is given a ramped up quality with the cutting, the cuts to black, even how the TV was shown. Like the fact that we're showing a TV and it's surrounded by all these videotapes and it's just there's all of these layers upon layers upon layers of things that come from this is a movie. Like we are showing you that this is like a thing that we have cut together. And I really, really like that. So then when we get to now we reveal that the movie is this type of thing and everything becomes more fluid, it actually works great because the first half is much more hard, abrupt, solid, stagnant. And then we move into the second half and it's like, oh no such thing as a tripod exists anymore. The camera, who says it needs to be at this angle? Why can't it be upside down? And it just works so well because, in a weird way, the way that it was like mechanically structured in the beginning was off putting. So then when it now enters what would be more usually off putting, it was kind of freeing. It was like, oh, we're loosened. Now we can have the camera above them.
Yeah, now we can have like 15 minutes of this film be them on the ceiling.
Yeah, which was an amazing shot.
Hmm.
That fight when the police come in, that was some of the best filmmaking ever. Just the camera just being upside down, the girl dancing, and the roof, like the real world roof, just seems like it's not even there. Like we're just in this complete void space.
Hmm.
It was a beautiful sequence when the police entered.
Even just seeing like the presence of a dog, like a non-human in the film, felt like alien.
Yeah, and it's just barking, and just like sniffing around. So we have a bunch of little stories in this night. We have a bunch of characters. Some meet consequences that are very dire. Other ones just sleep. Other ones have sex. Like there's all of these things here. And like you said, I was very similar of, oh, I'm having a hard time knowing who to keep up with. But the film knows that too. It's like, these ones are just this mob. And these ones are just this duo. And these ones are just this like, okay, we have the drug dealer character. All you know about her is she's the druggie, and she probably has cocaine. All right? That's what you know. All right. Set her on fire. Now you'll remember her. So that way, when we don't address her ever again, like we don't see her, when she comes back in the epilogue and she's the one that's been horrifically burnt and screaming and putting water on her, you'll go, oh, that's right, that's the druggie. Like the film is very good at that type of storytelling where it's kind of aware that like you yourself will be kind of a bit blurry on like who these people are. So they kind of simply define them, then give them a super memorable thing, and then just go, that's enough of that. We move on.
Yeah, I'd kind of conflated that character with the pregnant girl for some reason, but then at the end of the film, when you see her like burnt on the ground, it's like, okay, that was a different character.
Yeah. I loved that. That was like such a funny scene when she got set on fire. Just like she's there, you know something's gonna happen because there's this like Bunsen burner like equivalent just there with open flame. You're like, oh, you're gonna get set on fire, aren't you? And then she gets pushed into it. Just immediately her hair goes up and she's screaming, and the camera's lingering on it. And then it's like,
we're following someone else now.
Oh, someone's over here. Let's go over there. And just the screaming of her. And then the screaming of the kid locked in the closet. And then there's the screaming of the girl who's slashed. And like, there's like 4 people screaming constantly in this movie in the background. And you're like, but the techno beats are continuing to go.
Don't worry about the kid, though. He stops screaming at some point.
Yeah, that becomes a plot point. Yeah, did you have a standout or a favorite or a particular one you were drawn to when it came to these little vignettes or stories or characters that we were like witnessing the downfalls of.
I mean, I guess I already talked a bit about the pregnant girl, just because yeah, I really wanted to know, like, oh, what happened to her in the end, and what happened to her when the camera has just stopped being interested in her. Obviously there was like the mother character who has this very immediate goal that like she's lost something, is high on LSD and needs to find this key because you know
She locked her kid in there for some reason.
yeah, to keep him away from the LSD punch because he really wanted to drink it.
Yeah, he had drunk it.
He had drunk it,
Yeah.
but he wanted some more.
Yeah, and because she's impaired, her judgment was not the best, and so she locked him in a place that would kill him.
Mm.
Yeah, that was an interesting story because again, they turn on her as well because it's like you're the
Oh,
one.
she's like the first.
You're the
Suspect.
one that made it, and she's like, but I've drunk it too, so I'm also a victim of this event, and it's like funny that is not actually by the end of the movie a good enough excuse to use because it is actually proven to be the one that the person who did this all banks on. It's like I've been affected by LSD as well, so you can't expect me to be the one who've done it. Yeah, that was sad. I mean, that one was like, did you expect the kid to die?
I don't know what I expected, to be honest, with that subplot. So, but it is very dramatic when the lights go out and we made a joke before about like, oh, the film's spelling out the answer to you, but a character literally does says like, oh, Tito's been fried, and it's like, oh shit, they're just being really blunt about spelling it out.
Yeah, they're laughing about it, but because at that point the characters in the dance room are like these monsters, these beasts, where they're like telling people to kill themselves. They're laughing at the demise of others.
Yeah, their immediate response is like, well, the music stopped. Let's get the boombox then.
Yeah, let's get the boombox. Let's keep this party going. They even make a remark about how Omar's probably frozen to death outside, and they're like, ha ha ha, and like they don't care. They just don't give a fuck. There comes a point where they're like literally just fucking or punching each other. Like they have just become this amorphous blob creature almost. Like if this was a body horror movie, they would have just merged into one David Cronenberg kind of flesh mound because of just how depraved they become. And then anyone else who's not in the dance room is just going through some saga, except for Daddy, where Daddy and that kid just kind of have a somewhat tender conversation and then fall asleep.
Yeah, he was another interesting one, Daddy, because he was kind of like the leader character. People turned to him for
he was the DJ too.
Advice. The DJ. Even when the spike was punched, one of the first things was like, oh, we got to tell Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and then, seeing him eventually, like, strip down and dance, and he's, like, bigger than everyone else, and
has the wig.
Yeah, his hair is just so long, and he wraps it around his face, and, bites into it.
Yeah, he's just lost it. The fact he's called Daddy is also very loaded, it's very evocative, and like these women, whenever they're in trouble, they go, we got to talk to Daddy. Daddy will help us. And it's, they're very infantilized in the movie, and the men are very possessive of them. Like even in the first half where things are all right, most of the men's conversations are basically talking about how they could rape anyone at any moment if they wanted to. Like a lot of the men's conversations, like I could just grab her and fuck her and she would like it. Like they're very gross conversations. And then, we get back into the dynamic of everyone interacting. They're pleasant enough. And then once the drug's introduced, masks are off. And people are shown to be these hideous creatures underneath. And it's like, oh, okay.
And then, like I said before, the big turn with that skinhead-looking guy who just, like, not being, like, the biggest monster or anything like that.
Yeah, and he's not, and because also he's not, like, a physically intimidating guy like the rest of them. Like, all these other guys who are intimidated by him being, like, a sexual, like, sexual being, they're like, well, we can just physically beat him up.
Yeah, he is actually shorter than all
He's
of them.
actually less muscly than we are. We can just beat him up. Of course, the one I liked the most was the most fucked up story, one of the most fucked up stories, which was the brother and sister dynamic. They were interesting characters. Like, even in their testimonials, I really liked how they were characterized. Like, you knew that there was a possessive quality there, and that one of them's hiding things from the other, and one of them's demanding things of the other. And just the extreme ways we go with that was, again, not unexpected for me because I know Gaspar Noé, he always has incest in his movies.
Oh, okay.
Always. I don't think I've ever seen one where it doesn't pop up. Because again, he's a provocateur, and what's provocative is incest and child murder. And this film has both child death and incest. How great!
And Omar death.
And Omar death. Yeah, freezing to death. And people getting caught on fire.
And swearing.
But so another thing he was disappointed by was this film was rated R, when usually his films are rated NC-17, like is the higher one.
Yeah.
And he was disappointed by that because usually his films are like, properly the most notorious ratings, and he was disappointed. And this is what Gaspar Noé said. He said, when asked, why do you think this movie didn't get that rating? He said, I think it's probably because it's the only one of my films that doesn't show full frontal genitals. Which is true. Like, we get tits, but we don't get, like, a dick or pussy.
But yeah, there's a couple of parts where you see nude men, but, like, something's covering them.
Yeah. Well, usually in his movies, you get a proper shot. And he's like, maybe that's the reason why? Like, it's my only one where I don't have full frontal genitals. And I like that as a filmmaker, that's what he has to come to. It's like, maybe next time I put genitals in. I didn't this one time, but maybe this next time I should. And he has. Don't you worry. He goes back to the genitals. But yeah, even then, like, the nudity in this movie is not horny. It's so, like, almost, again, documentarian-like, of like, yep, that woman's just took her top off. These two are getting sexy time. I'm gonna go over here now. The camera's like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, the nude woman showering, it's just upsetting.
A main character and that woman kind of, making out and taking their clothes off and all of that. And then it's like, well, that's happening. That's not as interesting as this crazy thing over here, so let's go away. Like, one of my favorite sequences, it was just an interesting sequence, was the possession equivalent. So the film Possession has an iconic scene of a woman losing her mind in a hallway, in a tunnel. There's an equivalent with that of Sofia Boutella in this. But what I really like is after all that's said and done, she sits down and then she starts to, like, rub her legs, and then she, like, puts her legs into her pantyhose and slash stockings and just starts rubbing and pulling at them, and you can just tell, like, the effects of it are getting to her, but the film isn't doing, like, the traditional film trickery of, when a character gets high, where now we're doing psychedelic effects.
Oh, yeah,
man.
yeah, we never see what they're seeing.
But you feel it. Like, when she's doing all of that, I felt like that equivalent of, like, when a film like, say, Revenge that we did recently, when the main character in that movie got high, they did a bunch of cool, trippy stuff. I felt like the film was doing that, but it's just an actress physically embodying that. Like, she's just writhing around and she's, like, pulling at her stockings, and it's just like, I'm just sitting, realistically, I'm sitting here for almost, like, 2 minutes watching an actress just sit there and rub her legs. But it was super compelling. Like, it's super compelling, super well done, super interesting. This is why, the physical body is so amazing, because you can convey so much. Like, we're impressed with all these dancers and what their dance moves is, and Sofia Boutella can dance as well, but, like, she's the actress, and so they give her the thing where you need an actor to do this moment, where it's like a very physical thing, but you also need an actor to embody what this physical thing is representing to the audience. And it was super, super compelling. I was like, this was one of my favorite shots. And it's the camera being the most still.
Yeah, the little moment where she's just trying to have, like, little physical, experiences.
So, all these little vignettes, little stories. I like that Psyche is always just dancing in the center with a towel still on the floor from where she pissed herself. Because, yeah, she's the one that, kicks everything off, that we are aware that things are not going well. And being told, will you clean up your mess? And she just doesn't respond. And then the rest of the movie's her mess that she's made. And then she does not clean up her mess. She just goes to bed and starts again, and it's like, interesting. What a fucked up little person you are. There's no consequence for her. She's like, whatever. But yeah, interesting little vignettes. Like, the brother and sister was the one I liked the most, because they were just very depraved and fucked up, and I like their ending where they, were in the bed together, and it's like, just don't tell dad about this. It's like,
not daddy, but actual dad.
Yeah, not daddy, but actual dad. And she just looks so upset. It's like, ugh. Just, is she even still alive? You know, because she was having a seizure last time we saw her, and then in that moment she's like barely conscious. If that, like, there's some people where you're like, at the epilogue, you're like, are you dead or are you just unconscious?
Hmm.
Because people died. Are
Oh yeah, yeah.
you
The
just
the
unconscious?
police kind of react to some of them too, like, oh my god.
Yeah, the kid died. The mother died. She killed herself.
Hmm.
The blood. There's blood in the movie, everyone, but only really at the
It's a
end.
very red film.
Yeah, it's a red type movie. This is three colors red. So, is there anything else you want to say about Climax?
Yeah, I mentioned before that I wasn't really a big fan of the climactic part of the film. It's the part where the camera's very close to the ground and you're
Mm-hmm.
just it's just hard to make out things.
Yeah.
And when I'm so mesmerized by the rest of the film that I can tell the space that we're in and who we're following and what's happening, it just all seemed like red and movement. And and again, it was like a 10-minute sequence, it felt like, and I just wasn't really getting anything out of it.
See, and I felt a bit different. Like, I think it works. I think with everything that the film has done up to that point, it's kind of like the logical thing to do. Like, you're now getting real close, and like you the camera, like them, you're just flipping and rolling around and getting knocked over by someone else, and you're crawling with these characters and getting glimpses of like, what the fuck is that over there? Oh, no, I'm now over here, and these people are rubbing white stuff all over each other. Okay, whatever that's about. Like, I didn't have an issue with it as much.
I got what it was doing, but it just, yeah, wasn't working for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I really had any issues with this movie. It was just like I said, I had a good time with this. It did what it needed to do. It's a real mood piece type movie, like I stated at the very beginning. And it's relatively short, 90-ish minutes. Like, this isn't like a 2 hour
Yes, the
affair.
standard length.
It knows it's a gimmick type movie and just gets in, gets out, and goes home. Like, yeah, this is a movie where we're going to have like the big one shot take of people losing their minds and doing dance moves and everything goes crazy. And that's it.
Yeah, like I said before, the halfway point of the film, I was all kind of convinced that it was the end of the film. Like, oh, that was really slow, but the time I guess flew by.
Yeah.
Was that an hour and a half?
Mm-mm.
No, it was like half an hour, Bartek.
And again, that shot where the police comes in is just amazing. Like, camera's upside down. We get daylight come through. We've been locked inside at night, and it's all this neon or fluorescent lighting, and then, the outside world. And then you're reminded, all right, we opened on the outside world on a horrific scene.
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten.
And then we tie back around. Yeah, the film, considering like it's behind the scenes of how it's got made, it is shocking that it does come together so coherently for what is, a very incoherent type affair, but it really does just snap, crackle, and pop into place. Yeah, I recommend. This film isn't for everyone, but I do recommend it. I think this was a good time. Yeah, this is one where you can pair it with several other movies that are anxiety inducing and Panic Attack the movie, and it just works. And also, good tunes. They had some good songs in here.
Yeah, I remember after that first dance, what did I call it before? Physical
Oh, it was like medley.
medley equivalent. Yeah, after that sequence, like the music from that part was just stuck in my head for a good like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And would you recommend?
Definitely, I would recommend. But like you said, I can definitely see this not being for everyone.
I don't see your mum liking it.
I can't see my mum liking it either.
Could you imagine if your mum sat down and watched this?
I wouldn't say it's impossible that she'd like it, but yeah, it's not one that I would recommend to her right away. I mean, she ended up watching The Nightingale on my recommendation.
I understand that. That
Yeah.
makes more sense to me than
But that's
this.
but that's another one where we said like, oh, we liked it, but what does like mean?
Show her the dance numbers and see if she likes those.
I'm sure she'd like that at
Yeah,
least. Yeah.
she'll and then just tell her don't need to watch any more. But
Watch the second dance part too.
yeah, watch all the dances, even the violent ones. Here's this shot where Angie is sung, and this woman's dancing, but it's upside down. It's a very cool shot.
I think my favorite dance part was it was the skinhead guy when like everyone was like holding him, and like it was like he was dancing, but also they were like doing the movements for him.
Yeah, that was
It was
so
just this
good.
it's like a machine that he was hooked up to of hands.
Oh, it was so well done. I like this one. One of the guys, yeah, he did like a lot of like pop and lock moves where his shoulders were going all over the place, and like he was like grabbing his own wrists and pulling himself forward, and it was just very rhythmic but also robotic. It was again the human body, man.
Yeah, there was this contortionist guy who was doing the thing that you could do, where you wrap your arm over your head over the other side, and like, you know, you have your hands by the sides of your chin, but he went to like extra 15 out of 10.
Yeah. When you were watching this, did your back start to hurt? I was thinking, poor Bartek, Mr. Back Issues. I was thinking, oh, imagine if Bartek did these moves, you would die.
You know what? I wasn't putting myself in their shoes, really. Although I had my cat between my legs, and during the part where I think the woman was cutting herself, he started twitching. I'm like, ooh, Hamlet, not now, please.
Hamlet, not now. I don't want to be recreating this experience with your claws. So, thank you all for listening. Now it is time to hear what the recommendation for the next episode is. It is the listening people's recommendation.
Yeah.
And I was looking through our list.
There's a lot.
And I was just stroking my chin. I'm going, how do you follow this up? And I really couldn't. Like, our list from you people out there, there's some weird picks, but not weird enough. But I thought, you know, we're covering newer movies. We've been getting some listening people recommendations that have been, you know, somewhat newer, but somewhat older too. But I thought, oh, I'm looking at this, and then I saw one. I was like, oh, you know what? I've never seen this movie before, but it's iconic. And as a sci-fi fan, I should be dragged into a prison for this. Gattaca is on their list of recommendations from your stepbrother.
Yes.
And I've never seen Gattaca. It's always been my blind spot. And I don't know what your history with it is, but I know for my wife and several other people, it was one they had to study in high school.
It's the same for me. It's like, did you do year 10 English in the state of Victoria? Chances are you've seen Gattaca. I've covered classes in my teaching job where I showed Gattaca to students.
Well, let's see how you do, having to do an analysis on it again.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in full since year 10, like 2009.
It'll be a tricky thing. I wonder how it will be for you because, you know, unfortunately for your experiences, you will never have watched Gattaca just for entertainment or for your own sake. It will be for an analysis purpose, always.
It's not one that I remember, like, everything from, so I think I'll be all right, you know, watching it for entertainment, but yeah, it would be, I would like to check it out on my own terms. I know this is listening people choice, but I've always been curious to check it out.
So have I. I've always been curious to check it out for the first time. So everyone, make sure to come back next time for our discussion of 1997's Gattaca, starring the lovebirds themselves, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, who were married. I think they were married at the time. Maybe they met on this film. I don't know, but then they're not married now. But they have a daughter who's a big actress nowadays, Maya Hawke, and she looks exactly like if they both had a child. Like, it is creepy almost how much she looks like Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman mixed into one person. It is upsetting. She's a good actress, but it's upsetting how much it is like, yes, like a scientist came in and like, I'm just mixing two colors together and I'm making purple. It's just so weird.
And Jude Law's in it too.
I love Jude Law. We know this. Jude Law in a sci-fi film? I sure hope it won't be divisive like AI, where he's so good in that. But we can talk about Gigolo Joe next week on the podcast. Everyone, thank you for listening. You can contact us at our email address, which is...
Our email address is spitandpolished@gmail.com.
If you have a film recommendation or you want to just contact us, communicate with us, let us know your feelings on things we've discussed on the podcast. That's a great way of doing it. Or on our comment sections on our social medias of Facebook and Twitter. We also have a YouTube channel where you can drop a comment as well. And we are on all of the podcasting sites, so make sure to rate, review, and share the show around. It would be good if you did that. But if not, it's been great to have you here listening along to us discuss Climax, which doesn't end with an exclamation mark, but I feel like it should. You know, like it's just Climax, but I feel like it's a movie where if it just had that at the end, it would be apt. You know? You know what I mean? Because there's that film, you look
I don't know,
upset.
man. I'm torn both ways. I don't know which one I'd prefer.
Yeah, you don't know?
I don't know. An exclamation mark feels like it's trying to show off.
This film is showing off.
Yeah, but I don't think the film
Okay.
has the attitude of like, I'm showing off.
Gaspar Noé, I think, would, in retrospect, as a thing to annoy you.
I'm not annoyed by it. I just see it apt enough that it doesn't have the exclamation mark.
See, but I think Gaspar would want. Gaspar wants to get something negative out of you.
He has. I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of the climax of Climax.
And then he hears that and he just comes. He's like, yes.
But I recommend the film, huh?
He's just so upset by you now. Gaspar, you little scamp.
Enjoy
you little scampy boy.
Enjoy your cumlax.
There is, I'm not joking, I think, I have to look it up, I have to show you a picture of it afterwards, but I think there is like a very edgelordy advertisement of him where it's like for this advertisements for this movie, it was like from the director that made you hate, and it like listed these movies, comes his new film Climax, and it's him, a picture of him drinking like clearly like spike radioactive punch. And I'm just like, that's amazing. That is almost as good as David Lynch when he did Lost Highway, and the poster had a film that got 2 thumbs down from Siskel and Ebert.
I love it whenever someone advertises like the negatives, like the Chasers War and Everything DVDs here in Australia.
Yeah, they're iconic.
But the Prime Minister's like, this is not good.
This is not good. Advertised. Well, we'll be back next time. So remember, people, be kind to each other or we'll spike your punch.
Yes. Checking out the next episode is a valid thing to do.
There you go.
I think the pun would make more sense in the Gattaca episode than the
I
episode before.
Here's the thing. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen Gattaca. So when I just said, all right, that'll do.
Right.
That was me being polite, being like, the listeners will know. I hope.
All right. The cold ending of the next episode will be like, hey guys, check out the cold ending of the last episode.
Or the cold opening of the next episode is you referencing Climax in some weird, arbitrary way, just to throw everyone off on the Gattaca.
Yeah, let's see if I can remember to do that.
You won't.